channel. Today, I'm going to teach you guys a lesson about the trumpet. Now, this is an instrument that I started playing when I was just 8 years old, about 18 years ago now. As soon as I picked this thing up and began playing, I immediately fell in love and haven't looked back since. So, this right here is a disassembled trumpet. This is what a trumpet looks like when all of its parts are unattached. Now, I'm going to go through one by one and explain what each of these different parts does. To begin, we have the bell. Bell. Now, the most noticeable part of the trumpet, this is where all of the noise comes from. Now, when I started playing the trumpet when I was 8, I actually played a different type of trumpet called a cornet. It was about 2/3 the length of this trumpet, and the bell was a little bit larger, making the sound more mellow. Now, one of the big differences between trumpets and cornets is that a cornet is a conical instrument, whereas a trumpet is a cylindrical instrument. Next up, we have the mouthpiece. Now, this is what we insert into the front of the trumpet in order to play, because as you will notice, this would be very, very difficult to play into, which is why we have the mouthpiece. The mouthpiece goes in to the front of the trumpet, and we play through the mouthpiece. This is also a very good way to warm up. Really get the lips buzzing. It's what most people are introduced to when they first start playing. I actually have 2 different types of mouthpieces. The one on your right is called a Bobby Shoe lead mouthpiece, and the one on your left is a Bach symphony mouthpiece. Now, you'll notice that these 2 mouthpieces look quite similar, but the one on your right has it's a bit more shallow, and the one on the left is deeper, right? This one is used more for classical music symphony playing, whereas the one on the right is more for lead trumpet jazz playing. Let's see if we can tell if there's any difference between them. Slightly more mellow on the left side, and you'll be able to notice a slight difference when each of these mouthpieces are being used to play into the trumpet. Step 1. The first part of the trumpet is complete. Now we have the first valve slide. Sometimes it needs to be greased a little bit. This is the first valve slide. The buttons on a trumpet, they're not in right now, but they're called valves. And this is most associated with the first valve, meaning the first trumpet. You can see there's kind of some numbers on each of the valves right there. Sometimes on your own, when you hit each of these valves and you play a note that is associated with that valve, the note can sometimes be a little bit out of tune. And whenever you play a note on the trumpet with the first valve, sometimes when you play a note that is associated with the first valve on the trumpet, it can be a little bit sharp, meaning that the pitch is a little bit higher than it should be. So in order to compensate for that, we will push that out, the first valve slide out, when we play that that note. Next, we have the second valve slide, a tiny, tiny little piece of metal. That goes right on top of the second valve. This is really just, honestly, this doesn't do a whole lot. It's pretty much just a way to like close everything out. It's probably the piece of equipment on the trumpet that has the least amount of impact. Nice little ring to it. Now we have the trumpet's tuning slide. What you'll notice on here too is there's also this little lever right here. This is called the spit valve, because when you play the trumpet, the way that you make a sound is by buzzing your lips like this. A lot of times a lot of saliva can build up, and the way that you empty it is you open this valve and you blow through. I'll show you how to attach it to the horn. So this is how you tune the instrument. The further you push in, the sharper or the higher the pitch gets. The more you push it out, the flatter, or in other words, the lower the pitch gets, and this controls the pitch of the entire instrument. Next, we have the third valve slide. It also has a spit valve used for the exact same reason, to empty saliva. Now, before we attach this, there's a little screw that we have to kind of loosen a little bit. Otherwise, it won't go on, and this is basically what keeps this third valve slide attached to the instrument. So similar to the first valve slide, whenever you play certain notes on the trumpet, specifically with the third valve, they're usually a little bit sharp, i.e. higher in pitch. So you always push this out in order to compensate for the sharpness. It makes it a little bit lower of a pitch and keeps things in tune. We're almost complete, but we still have to put in the valves. Valve number 1. You'll notice that we still have to put the bottom of the valve on. Just this little screw thing. I don't even know what these things are called, but basically it's just to ensure that the trumpet is closed up. Valve 1 complete. Now on to valves 2 and 3. And now, valve 3. Still got to put down the screw. And there you have it, a completely assembled trumpet. I would maybe play for you, but this is an ASMR video, so that would be a little bit loud. Maybe one day I'll bring out my practice or cup mute to make it softer. And that's all for today. Until next time.